וכי נפשי אס השם. Today, Tractate Shabbat, page 79, we're going to discuss not only the subject of caring from one domain to another, but we're going to expand it. We're going to elaborate on several halachot with a milveh and loveh, lender and borrower, a lot of applications. And then, Mitzvah Shem time as allow, we're going to learn several halachot in regard to mezuzah and tefillin in connection to the halachot of caring from one domain to another. Well, until everyone's set up, here is a short Var Torah. In this week's Torah portion of Vayigash, we read how Yosef, the new viceroy king of big empire of Egypt, sent his father 10 wagons from the best of the land of Egypt. Now, they said, the Rashi and other commentators said that what did he send him? From the best of the land of Egypt, he sent him an old wine. Why old wine? So you may say old wine tastes good, right?
Yeah.
But here's the difference between wine and other things. Clothing, for example, or any other materials, the older they get,
Gets worse.
gets worse.
Wine gets better.
Wines get better. So Yosef sent it to Yaakov. Why? He wants to tell him that what the famous sentence said, that the older the person get, Ziknei Talmidei Chachamim, the Torah scholar, the older they get, the sharper they get.
They age like wine.
The age like wine. So that's what Yosef tried to tell his father. Which basically we said, Ve'amelech David Zaken Baba Yamim. When King David was old in age, he was king. Goes to show you that by Talmidei Chachamim, by the Torah scholar, the older they get, the sharper, the better. Rava Amar, we are at the top of page 79. דכולי עלמא מודה בשטר שכתבו שצריך לקיימו והכה בחודבין שובר כמפלגי. Word of introduction, especially for those who are not here yesterday. Two entities. We have the lender, let's call him, give him a name, Reuven, okay? And you have the borrower, we call him Shimon. Okay. Shimon borrowed money from Reuven. Let's say he borrowed from him $40,000. Okay? Reuven gave him over the years, he didn't give him one shot $40,000. He gave him over the years, and it wasn't just like that. Let's trace deeper scenario. He gave him and he said, this $300, forget it. This $500, take it. If you want to pay me, pay me. This $2,000, you know what, I knew that you're in a great need. While Shimon was such a righteous man that he kept track. Every time Reuven gave him money, Reuven knew that Shimon is poor, so he wrote it down clearly. How much is it? Reuven at that time was rich. Imagine you have a house that's worth $560,000. Just a number, right? Mm-hmm. And then, unfortunately, he has a crisis in his life, one after the others, and another cause, and the whole world after him, and he lost his pens. Okay? Now, Reuven is penniless. Now we go to Shimon, and he said, give me the money. Shimon kept track of every money. Now here's the problem. Did they have a contract?
No.
No. Can Reuven take Shimon to court and get anything?
No.
No. Now, Reuven said to Shimon, Give me the money. So Shimon said, I don't have, I'm indigent. I don't have money. I don't have money. Give me a payment. So Shimon writes him, for example, 12 checks for $1,000 for the whole year next year. Okay? So Reuven said, okay, now is, let's say, 20 some $1,000 left. I want you to write me a shtar. Shtar is like a document, and in that document you need to say clearly, he said, I am Shimon, I owe Reuven, for example, 20 some $1,000, etc., etc. Shimon come to Reuven and he said, I'm not going to do that. He said, why? He said, for two reasons. First of all, he said, the fact that I gave you the 12 checks was out of my generosity. All those years that you gave me those monies, you never requested a document. You never said that I want it in a date or so and so. And so many times you told me you give it to me with no charge, with no expectations as money return. And now, all of a sudden, your situation changed. So because I'm trustworthy and I wrote it to myself that I owe you the money and I was generous to give you postponing checks, doesn't mean that I'll not stay my word whenever I have to give you whatever I have to, what I feel obligated to give you. But to write you a letter, I have a problem with that. Why? Here is the issues with letters. Issue number one. God forbid if Shimon passed. Reuven may take a letter and go to Shimon's children, right? Shimon's children, what do they can say? You fake it. It's not real letter. Possible or not possible? It's between two people.
Of course.
Two, Shimon said, wait a second. A lot of money that you gave me as a donation, as a charitable, as a partners, whatever it is, for different reasons. My children doesn't need to be involved in my private life, in our relationships, and my children should not hold responsibility for that one. If you gave me a loan, that we have a contract, and it was, for example, to pay the doctor, right? But the fact that I did not inform my family over that, it's proof to you that I don't want anybody else to be responsible. As long as I'm alive, I pay you, and I pay you back. Reuven said, but I don't have money, I need money. And I want to be sure that whatever left by you, I want it back. You see, it's just one example of something. Who is right, who is wrong? You see, it's not so simple to say it's right or wrong. Furthermore, since there's no agreement between them, it's really hearsay for everyone to say whatever they want. Now, how it's applied here? So Rava said everyone agrees that when a debtor admits that he wrote a promissory note, the creditor need to ratify it in a court. What does that mean? I need to go to next step, and then I believe in Mitzvah Shem the whole sugya will be clear. In yeshiva world, there is a very big discussion over the issue. It's called migo. What is a migo? It was a great rabbi that unfortunately perished during the Shoah. His name is Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman. And Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman wrote a responsa. And he speaks in that famous responsa about ta'anat migo beshtar, which means situation like that. That Shimon said, wait a second, if I want to lie, right, so I'll say to you, I don't owe you anything. Or another situation. Let's say Shimon gave Reuven the promissory note of $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
But Shimon knew that Reuven, it's not always a stable individual. So Shimon doesn't want to give Reuven that promissory note because he said, hey, I know you. Mm-hmm. Guess what's going to happen? I'm going to pay you, and then you come back, or your children come back, and said, here is a piece of paper, you owe me that money. And guess what? I know you, I can pay you all the money, and then I ask you back for that paper, promissory note, and you said, I don't know where is it, I lost it. And the next thing you come back, year or two later, you forgot all about, and you come back and you said, give me that money. I know you already. So what's the problem with Migo here? Shimon said to Reuven, look, I can say whatever I want. I can say I paid you. Or I can say I pay you partially. Or I can say I didn't wrote this promissory note. Right? Which means without me saying that this promissory note that you hold, because what happened here in this scenario, Reuven already hold this promissory note. So the problem is they take that to a Bet Din, and the issue is if it's carry any weight or not. Why? Because Reuven said to Shimon, wait, you need to pay me that. Shimon said, why should I if I did recognize, I can say I never wrote it. Without my confirmation that I wrote you that note, this note doesn't carry anything. So you have to believe me, right? How about the witnesses? Oh, forget about the witnesses. It was 20 years ago. They are overseas in Panama. They passed. They're not around. Right? So what happened here? In one hand, we depend upon whom? The borrower. We have to take his word, right? On the other hand, he can go ahead and said, it's fake. It's not a real document. So here, according to the sages, the word of the borrower is the one who accepted, as long as he said, I admitted that I wrote this promissory note. Okay, that's one school of thought. Now we see Rav Yehuda. V'hacha bekodvin shovar kamiflegi. What is a shovar? Which means that it's he bring him in a way a receipt or substitute of payment. Which means since it wasn't a real contract between the two, so it was a substitute of promissory note. So Tana Kama Savar Kodvim Shtar. So the first Tana said that yes, the lender can give him in exchange some type of receipt that say that the minutes you pay me, you don't to have the original promissory note, or you don't have to have the original contract. Rabbi Yehuda savar en kodvim shovar. Rabbi Yehuda said, wait a second, maybe this shtar is fake, maybe this shtar is not. So what's the whole power you have here? Not because of Reuven or Shimon, but because of what? The shtar, because of the document. So I agreed, Shimon said that I wrote it. By the merely fact that I agree that I wrote it, so you have to take my word that I am a reliable person. That's the core of our discussion. Now Rav Ashi come to the picture. And Rav Ashi said, here we speak about shtar chov parua. Again, the whole discussion begins yesterday with carrying this promissory note on Shabbat. And what's the issue? That this promissory note, it's already paid. So if it was already paid in full, so Rav Ashi said that everyone agreed that in that situation, he is exempt. What Rabbi Yehuda here said is, if the borrower took after he returned the money, he took that promissory note. Why he needs to take it to promissory note? Anybody have an idea? Why the borrower, after it's all said and done, and he have now the receipt or the promissory note back that stated that it's paying full, why he needs it again? Why the borrower needs it again? So the answer is, מפני שצריך להראות לבעל חוב שני, דאמר לי חזה גברא דפרענה. This guy, Shimon, he doesn't have money, but he's a good person. So what he needs to do now? He wanted to take this document and to do what? To go to another, to Gilbert, and he wants to say to Gilbert, my sweet Gilbert, I want you to lend me money. And Gilbert said, why should I lend you money? So Shimon said, don't you see that I am a good borrower with good standing, that I paid? So in other words, even it was paid in full, the borrower, according to Rav Ashi, has a need for that document, because that document carries a weight for the future needs of borrowing future money. How it works usually with businesses. You establish relationship with banks, with lenders. You come to them, even, some guys does that on purpose, but anyway, come to them, you take a small amount of money, $10,000, $20,000 for the banks. You have a date of returning the money, you return it before the dates, and you return more than the minimum payment. Sure enough, couple of months pass by, now they come and they offer you double amount, $40,000. And you do the same, you do the same, do the same. All of a sudden, year, 2 years later, you can borrow $1 million from them. Correct or incorrect? Why? You established a reputation, you established your credit. So here, he needs the promissory note, so therefore there's a reason for the borrower to carry it on Shabbos. It's not just a piece of paper, it's a valuable piece of paper for him. Clear? Okay. Next one. Or kedei lasot. So the Mishnah said, if someone take a skin of an animal and he put a salt, but that salt, it's not, which we call in Hebrew, ubad leklaf. Again, introduction. How do we make a mezuzah or tefillin? We're taking an animal skin, and what did we do? What do we do with that? You put it with the seed, you put it with those special water, it changed their status. Then you put salt. Then you remove all the skin hair. And then you put the special materials that when you later need to use the ink or to erase, that parchment will not show anything. And then in some Sifrei Torah, you put an oil, some not, and then you put the lines, and then you'll be able to use it as a parchment, for writing. So it's a process. So now, if someone takes this type of animal skin, that it's already dry, and as we said, after you water it, and after it's dry, and then you put the salt, and you put it in other materials, kedei la'asot, why you want to do it? You want to have kis lakamea. You remember when we talk about amulet on Shabbat, so we explained that you cannot carry that amulet in a bathroom, etc. So you need to have a special pocket, and that pocket need to made out of leather. So in order to make it a proper leather, that leather need to have a process before you can use it. So in other words, there's a process between taking it from that animal until you have it ready for use. Be'amine Rava mirav Nachman amotzi or bekama, when someone takes an animal hide, how much must he carry out on Shabbat in order to be liable? Amar Rav Nachman responded to him and said, Ki detnan or kedei lasot lekamea. The amount is, if you have an amulet and you need to cover it, that size, that's the amount, that's the minimum amount. Next question, Hame'abdo bekama. So the next one is, we got to tend the hide, how much he tend in order to be liable. Amar leloshna. Makes no difference. So then he said, third question, Le'abdo bekama. So he said, if he had to tenant, how much he carry out in order on Shabbat in order to be liable. Amar le loshna. There's no difference. So meaning, even that it's not me'ubad shi'ur hotzah, it's not fully ready, tanning, it's fine. Umenat teimra. So he asked him, from where you derive this? There's no difference. So he bring what we said later in Kufhei 105. המלבן והמנפץ והצובע והטובע שיערו כמלוא רוחב הסיד כפול. So we said that one who whitens, comes, dyes, spine, right? So the measure of wool is liable. It's we said כמלוא רוחב הסיד full, double the full of the distance between the forefinger and the middle finger. וההורג שני חוטים. And the measure that some who weave a two thread is what? שיערו כמלוא רוחב הסיד tooth. So it's a double full of distance between the finger, the forefinger and the middle finger. Alma. So Rav Nachman explained, כיוון דלתביעה כאe, because the wool is designated for what? For spinning, right? Mm-hmm. So they said shi'ura ketavui. So it's equal to the weaving that's spun. So here too, since it's designated for tanning, the measure is equal to the ability of tan. And how much if there's no intention to tan it? So he said, Amar lei, Rav Nachman respond, lo shna, it's no different. Velo shani, so and it's no different between, it's no halachic different between carrying out tan hide and carrying out hide that is not tan. 80. So we ask a question, המוציא סמנים שרויים כדי לצבוע מן דוגמה להירה, ואילו בסמנים שאינן שרויים, תנן קליפה, גוסים וקליפה, רימונים וסתית, ופועה כדי לצבוע בהם בקטן לפי סבכה. So he said that if one needs, he taking out herbs that were soaked in water, and he speaks about example like nutshells, pomegranate peels, safflower, madder, all these example, in order to do what? It's used to dye a small cloth, cover the opening of women hair. That's the way they used to do it in those days, women hair net. So he said, so you see here that the measurement of something that it's not meubah, that it's not fully tan, it's greater. So they said, the Gemara responded and he said, Ait marala. So we said in regard to that Mishnah, Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rav Ravu, לפי שאין אדם טורח לשרות סמנים, לצבוע בהם דוגמה לעירה. Because people did not go out to trouble to soak herbs, just dye as a sample for shatel elum. Let me explain to you something. Let's say, God forbid, your neighbor make a scratch on your car while he or she parked their car. So you go to car mechanic and you said, can you paint my door? So he said, well, I'm not going to prepare all this color to paint one door. If I do that, I'll do the whole car. It makes sense for me. Okay? Versus, you come to the car mechanic and you said, look, it's a scratch on my door. And he said, you are lucky man. Why you're a lucky man? So he said, because yesterday I have a client that paint all the car, and his car is the same color as yours, so I can use the paint that I prepared for, like, it took me like 2 days to prepare that special color, and all the preparation about that, and now I can use it for the scratch on your door or to paint one door. It's possible for me. So here he said the same thing. A person will not bother to trouble to soak herbs just to dye a sample for the shuttle of a loom. So the second question they ask, והרי זרעוני גינה, dim kamei dezar'inuhu, so seeds of the garden plant before one sow them. So what we learn in the Mishnah, in the Tzadik, in 90, later, זרעוני גינה פחות מגרגרת. The seed of garden plants is less than a dry fig bark. ואילו, and then Rabbi Yehuda ben Tera אומר 5, said 5. ואילו בתר דזרעינהו, but after that they're planted, תנן, we learn in page 80, זבל וכל עדה כדי לזבל בו כלח של כרוב, דיו רבי עקיבא, חמורים כדי לזבל כרישה. So we said that they use these materials to fertilize the leek. So we said that they use it for a stalk of cabbage, etc. So measure fine sand is equivalent to what used to fertilize one stalk of cabbage with it. והחכמים אומרים כדי לזבל כרישה. So the sages said that this measure, the liabilities for carrying is what? Is equivalent to use to fertilize a leek. So in other words, when he planted the seed in a sown, so the measure of liability is one plant. So they said, התמרה למה רב פאפא דזריעה לא זריעה, לפי שאין אדם טורח להוציא נימה לזריעה. Exactly what we said earlier. Same way that in a car, what we said, that a person did not prepare to paint just one scratch on a car. So if you come to the car mechanic and said, I need to paint those scratches on my car, he said to you, you're a lucky guy. Why? Because it's already left over from yesterday. That's different. But here he said the same, that the person that does not go to trouble to carry out just one seed for sowing. Third question. Third question that Rav asked. We said earlier that if you use a knead, the clay before one kneads it, so he said if you take out water, the wastewater to a public domain, the measure that it's quarter of a log. Remember we asked what did you use this wastewater, and we explained that you use it for what? For you to knead clay, לגבל בהם תתית. ואילו בתר דגבלי, and after he knead the clay, תניא כדי לעשות בהם פיקור. So he said that he can make an opening, the bellows to a place of a crucible, which means which is a small amount. So he said here, so again, it's a larger, the skin that it wasn't fully tanned is larger. התמנמי, the GEMARA respond, כדאמרן לפי שדם טורח לגבל תתית לעשות פיקור. Usually people don't go to trouble to kneading clay just to make an opening to the bellow, to a place of crucible. So what we said so far, that if it was ready in advance, it's different, but the person should not bother to go all of that. The fourth question. He asked on Rav Nachman, he said, Tashma, come in here. דאמר רבי חייא בר עמי משמי דאולה 3 אורות הן, מצה, חיפה ודיפתרה. Later we'll learn another one. So basically we explained, if you remember earlier, we said that it's a process. So we said that in the process you have the process which called matzah, and then you have chipa, and you have the diphthera. So he said when it's come to these three hides, so כמשמעו, so מצה כמשמעו, ולא קמיח, ודלא אפיץ. So matzah is a plain meaning, that is no additives, which means that the way it is. Next one, which means that he didn't put it neither with, as we said, when it comes to prepare this skin, you have a process. So if you didn't use salt, you didn't use flour, you don't do anything or the process to make this a parchment, so that's called matzah. It's a very basic, the foundation. Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, Tane Rav וכמה שיעורו, what's the measurement? Tane Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, כדי לצוד בו משקולת קטנה, which means that the amount is so small that it's equivalent used to wrap around a small weight. Oferet, it's a small amount. Vechama, and how big is this small weight? Revia de Rivia de Pompedita. They live in a city, Pompedita. So there's a quarter of litra. That was the system of weight that they used in those days in that city. So litra, it's called Revia. The second stage is called Chipa, which is salted. Remember we said in the process, the second one is salting it? So he said, Dimliach, that they put salted. Velo kamiach, velo afitz. But he didn't put a flour, and he not treated with a gallnut. Vechama shiuro was the measure, kiletnan, or kidei lasot kameh. This type of skin in order to make an amulet. Diftera, the third one, he says, Diftera is the dimliach, ukmiach, velo afitz. He said that the next one is called diftera, that he said that it's salted and treated with a flour, but it's not treated with a gallnut. So he said, Vechama shiuro, and what's the measurement to say the carry hide on Shabbat? כדי לכתוב עליו את הגט. What do you need for the get? For the get you need the name of the person, the one who wants to divorce, the groom, the man, the man, and then the woman, okay, the time, and important word, you are allowed to everyone, הרי את מותרת לכל אדם, that you allow to everyone, that's the essence of the language of the get, the sign of the two witnesses, that's it, that's the essence of the get. So that's smallest than the amount of skin that we said earlier for the amulet. Ktane miyat, and then we learn כדי לצוד בו משקולת קטנה. So to wrap around the small weight. ואומר אביי, ריבה דריבה דפומפדיתא, and Abaye said, it's what is the litra is the quarter of the system of weight of Pompedita. Hatam, so now you see what? That is larger than before, right? So he said, Hatam bebishula. Over there, it's referring to what? To wet hide. So just they use it for dry in the sun, which means that after you take it out of the animal and before it's dry, so it's not ready yet for ibud, for fully tanning. So at that time it's bigger. It's like you're taking a clothing and you put it in a washing machine. It's a brand new. What happens usually to clothing? If you take a pants, for example, usually you
color
change.
And what else? The size.
Yeah, they usually shrink a little bit.
Shrink.
Mm-hmm.
So here, when you take a skin, before it's finished the process, what happens is it's larger. So, but after it's fully dry and it's ready for use for the final stage, or close to final stage, so it is equal to something that is fully ready. That's the point. Last question, Vatnan. We learn in Mishna in Tractate Keli in 27. הבגד 3 על 3 למדרש, השק 4 על 4, אור 5 על 5, מפת 6 על 6, בין למדרש בין למת. It's speaking הלכות with Tuma and Tara. So in order to accept Tuma and Midras, they said that at least 3 by 3 hand breadth become impure. And then he said for the sack made the goat hair must be 4 hand breadth, and then 5 by 5 for the mat, 6 by 6, etc. So they said it's all of that apply regardless if it's for the corpse, for the dead body, or for imparted by treating, which means midras. So they said here, in other words, the difference is beged, the clothing, it's a little different because he received tumat midras only by 3 by 3, but the others doesn't need 3 by 3. So anyway, ותניא לה, הבגד והשק והאור כשיעור לטומאה, כך שיעור להוצאה, all of these lists, the same as the impurity, it's also the same measure for carrying. So what do you see here? That's contradicted what we said earlier. Earlier we said it's in order to make it emulate. And here you see that it's a different size, right? It's larger. So it's opposite to what Rav Nachman said earlier. So he said, "Hu bekor tovla." So over there it's speaking about kor tovla. So which is a hide that was 10 in a manner that render unfit for writing. That's the Rambam said, or wrapping. It's used for cover vessels or other things. So that's the word of Rav Nachman. Now we turn the page. We just turned the page and the top of 79b, קלף כדי לכתוב עליו פרשה קטנה. Again, when we speak here about שיעור הוצאה, about carrying from one domain to another, we explain that there is a process. We have the skin from the animal, then we put it in the water, then we put it in the salt, we dry it, put it with the flour, and then we go to the process of tanning. And all of that, one of them is in order לא לבלוע את הדיו, not to take the ink in, that you can write and erase and do things with no problem. So he said, קלף כדי לכתוב עליו פרשה קטנה, if one take this parchment, is equivalent to write a shorter portion on what? On tefillin. So which one is considering a parsha ktana?
It's a shema. Now the question is...
Shema en va'ahavta.
That's what I was going to ask. So it's essentially the first paragraph.
Shema en va'ahavta. Right. That was called katan me'arbat parshiyot. That's the smallest one from the all 4 parshiyot. So the Gemara asks a question, וראמינו קלף ודוכסטוסטוס כדי לכתוב עליו מזוזה. Duchstustus is the internal part of the skin. So Rashi said here, Duchstustus klav shenitla klipato alyona. It's a skin that the cover would take. If you take all the hair, it's called gvil. That's the less part. That's what Tosfot did here. But he said here, the Rambam, by the way, disagree and he go the opposite. But the whole point is k'dei lichtov alav mezuzah. Now, what is written in mezuzah?
Mezuzah is also a passage of the Shema.
But what? Shema and?
Well, V'haya also, V'yam Shema.
So now isn't that contradicted to what we said earlier? What did we say earlier? כדי לכתוב עליו פרשה קטנה. What is פרשה קטנה? Shema and V'ahavta. Okay. What you said now, that is a parsha of the mezuzah. What is now? Is
Shema, V'ahavta, and V'haya Shema. Yep.
So the Gemara responded and said, just want to keep you on the toes. My mezuzah, what does that mean in order to write mezuzah? Mezuzah shebetfilin, which means if you take the head tefillin and you see the line in the head tefillin, so one of them is the line that you put inside the head tefillin, which is only one portion, and it's the portion of Shema Israel. So that's what's called dochstustus in order to write mezuzah. That's part of the mezuzah in tefillin. In tefillin we have 4 different parts: kadesh, vaya keviacha, shma vaya im shamoa. You see those lines on the head tefillin. Okay, so they said, v'kara letefillin mezuzah, you call tefillin mezuzah? That's not what we call it, right? So the Gemara said, Ein, yes, v'atanya, רצועות תפילין עם התפילין מטמאות הידיים. בפני עצמן אין מטמאות הידיים. So he said those pieces that you're taking out of tefillin, right? Straps. That if someone touch them, he can make it impure. What does that mean? That is a decree of the sages that said that כתבי הקודש מטמאים את הידיים. That the sacred can make, if you a sacred document, when you are in a state of impurity, so it can transmit it impurity. If you remember, we said in the Mishna earlier on page 13 that it was in gathering of the sages, the house of Shammai and the house of Hillel, in the Hanani ben Chizkiah, and they decided 18 things. And one of the things is because the Kohanim taking what is a truma, which belongs only to the Kohanim, and they put it, whatever left over with pieces, where are the books? Why? Because they are sacred, so they don't want to put it one next to the other. And then what happened is the mice came in and eating that part, and also ruining the books, right? So they put a decree that also that Kitvei HaKodesh, that all these sacred document makes a person impure if it touched them, which means it's called Sheni L'Tumah. So the nafkamina, it's only to the two things, to Truma and Kodashim. This is the two things that is here in nafkamina. So they said, Ein metamot, so bifnei atzmam, if it's independent, in ad metamet, and it's not carry impurity by touching it. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda omer mishum Rabbi Shimon הנוגע ברצועה טהור. If someone touched the stripe, even that it's attached to the tefillin, his hand is pure. It's not make invalid the truma. עד שיגע בקציצה, which means he touched the box of the tefillin, that the parchment is inside. Just to answer you, again, this is the head tefillin. This is Rashi head's tefillin. If you look at the head tefillin, you see lines in between. To this part, they put 4 different parshiot, 4 different parchments. And then they sew it, if you look the way it's sewed, to make it together. These are the stripes, okay? So they said here that touching this part, he said, Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda said in the name of Rabbi Shimon, if someone touched these stripes, so he is pure, his hand is pure, and is not make the tuma invalid until he touch the bite, the head of the tefillin. So the minute it touch something that you have inside parchment, that's a different category. So then it can carry this impurity. Rabbi Zakai Mishmor Shel, in the name of Rabbi Shimon, said, Tahor ad shiga b'mezuzah atzma. He said, no, I disagree with that. Only if he touch what is called mezuzah,
is the parchment inside?
Parchment itself. So you see here several opinions. So the Gemara asks a question, V'hamediktana is seifa. What we learn, the fact that we learned the later part of the Braita, קלף כדי לכתוב על הפרשה הקטנה שבתפילין שישמע ישראל בכלל דרישה במזוזה עצמה עסקינן. When we said the parchment, we speak about the small part that they have, the tefillin, the head tefillin, that it's what? Scary, Shema Israel, you remember? Mm-hmm. And what we understand, that the Reisha, the first part, is speak about mezuzah. What is the mezuzah? The one we're putting on the door, and not the parshiot of tefillin, right? So why are you saying early mezuzah tefillin is saying? So you see that the second part, the second clause, and the third part contradicted to each other. So now we go back to the first question. We said that the measurement is larger than the others. So Tosfot here explain that even is contradicted to one another. That the key point is that that we go to the very core understanding, and that's the core understanding of what's exactly involved in the measurement of caring. And that's the core. It's not just the issue of tefillin, dochstustus, and mezuzah. And that's the conclusion. Hachektani, klaf vedochstustus shiuran bekama. Parchment and dochstustus, what is the proper measurement, how much the measure that determine the ability for carrying them out. So they said dochstustus, that it's not good to write any parshiot of tefillin. You cannot kedei lichtov alav mezuzah. What do you have in mezuzah? You have Shema Yisrael and Vayayim Shamoah. So mezuzah, it's not lechatchila, but b'di'eved you can write mezuzah on dochstustus, which means it's not fully ready. Klaf, however, klaf, that it's parchment, that it's already the fully good condition, it's good to write what? Tefillin, kedei lichtov alav parasha ktana shebetfillin shehi Shema Yisrael. So that's good for the writing, the first part of tefillin, which is Shema Yisrael. Another thing we discuss here, Amarav, dochstustus areu keklaf. Rav said that dochstustus has the same legal status as a regular parchment, which is, and he explained, ma klaf kotvim al tefillin, av dochstustus kotvim al tefillin, which means no, both klaf and dochstustus, even one is well tan and one is not fully ready in full, he all that is as the equivalent status. So he said, nan klaf kedei lichtov ala parasha ktana shebetfillin shehi Shema Yisrael, klaf in dochstustus lo. So here you see in the Mishna the other. We say that klaf is in order to write this portion of Shema Yisrael in the tefillin. And you said dochstustus not. So now you see a contradiction between the Mishnah and the Braita. So they said, no, le mitzvah. What does that mean, mitzvah? When you want to do mitzvah mina muvchar, you have to have the best. It's like we discussed the other day, we said that there are a pair of tefillin that cost a lot of money, there are a pair of tefillin that's relatively cheap. It's all matter of quality. So they said the best is to write tefillin on klaf and not on dochstustus. Why? Because usually people, if they want to do a mitzvah or they want to do something, they do it right. For lehavdil, when you're buying a car, you don't buy a falling apart car that it's very cheap and then every week you need to run to car mechanic. You buy at the beginning something good with the assumption that you don't need to see car mechanic for a long time, once, twice, 4 times a year, but nothing more. Lehavdil. So people usually buy something good and to be good for a long time. So you spend the money to buy some tefillin that it's good. So therefore, it has to be that if it's b'di'eved, if it was whatever it is, and so if a person wrote that tefillin on dochstustus, so it's kosher. And if he put that later tefillin, so he fulfilled the mitzvah. But again, it's only b'di'eved, it's only by force of circumstance that the person can put later tefillin that made out of dochstustus. It's not lechatchila. Tashma, another question. Since we said there is opinion that tefillin cannot be written on dochstustus, and we explained that dochstustus is something that it's not fully tanned, that it's on the process, is not completed, right? Halacha leMoshe miSinai tefillin ala klaf uMezuzah ala dochstustus. We believe that when Moshe Rabbeinu transmitted the Torah, it was the oral and the written. So there are many things that transmitted orally, and we receive it as tradition from one generation to the next. So as much as the we have here a discussion over tefillin, we say that it's halacha leMoshe Sinai, that we receive a tradition that putting tefillin has to be on a parchment. Mezuzah can be on dochstuchstus. Klaf, which is the external part of this animal skin, bimkom basar, which means the internal part of the animal skin. Dochstustus, it's what? Bimkom se'ar, in the side that it's to the animal's hair. And now, he said, so you see here something very clear. That is halacha leMoshe Sinai, that what? That tefillin, it's only on the klaf. And here what we said earlier, that b'diavad you can use tefillin that made out of dochstustus. So the Gemara said, wait, lemitzvah, which means the halacha leMoshe Sinai that tell us that we should have tefillin on the parchment and not on dochstustus. So it's what should call mitzvah min hamuvchar, the way should mitzvah be, the way that people should lechatchila does that. However, by force of circumstance, b'diavad, if he already wrote it on dochstustus, it's kosher. So now they ask a question. V'atanya shina pasul. What we said? We said if a person he changed, he wrote the mezuzah on and wrote on the klaf, or he took tefillin and wrote it on dochstustus. So they said that they're both invalid. So the Gemara said am mezuzah. It's only speak about mezuzah that braita, which means that if he changed and wrote on the klaf, it's invalid. But tefillin, it's b'diavad kosher if he wrote it on dochstustus. V'atanya shina bazeh u'bazeh pasul. It's another braita that said that if you make any changes, you make it invalid. Said v'idi hamzuzah, both speaking about the mezuzah. V'ad echatfinu al aklaf bimkom se'ar, that if he wrote on the parchment in a side that is the side, you remember the parchment has two sides. Is one side is the hair and the other one is the internal part. So here they speak about if he wrote the other way around. So the Tana said that it's invalid because it has to be on the dochstustus and not on the klaf. Inami adochstustus, which means that's the way it is. But we speak here bimkom basar. So even he wrote the way the wrong way, because he wrote in the wrong way, it's invalid. V'baitema is another explanation. Shina bazeh u'bazeh, what we said in the change in both. Tanaihi, it's a disputation among the Tanaim. The Tanya shina bazeh u'bazeh pasul. Rabbi Yacha machshir mishum Rabbi Yacha bar Chanina, v'amarav mishum Rabbi Yaakov bar Chanina. Okay, so you see here is a dispute. Rav Papa Amar, there's another explanation. Rav Amar ki the Tana devei Menashe, the Tana devei Menashe katva al haniyar ve'al hamatlit. If he wrote, we don't know what is it. Soon we explain if it's mezuzah or tefillin or Torah. We don't know yet. But we said if a person wrote it on the paper that made out of herb, for example, or on the little clothing, whatever, vala matlit psula, it's invalid. Ala klaf, but if you wrote on the external part of the skin, ve'ala gvil, in other words, you take a skin without dividing it to pieces, it's called gvil, ve'al dochstustus, that internal part of the skin, kshera, it's kosher, it's valid. So Rav Papa asked, Tava Mai, what does that mean that he wrote? He talk about gvil, about parchment, about what? Dochstustus? Ileima mezuzah. If you tell me it speak about mezuzah, mezuzah klaf mikadvina? Can we write mezuzah on that type of klaf? No. Elalav tefillin. Why? Because earlier we said that shina pasul if he changed it's invalid, so it can be mezuzah. So it have to be what? Tefillin. Right? Tosfot said here, even he used the word ktava, which is it's a feminine. It speak about mezuzah in a sense of several parshiyot inside the tefillin. So the Gemara said, "Veletamich tefillin agvil mikatvinan." Can you tell me that you take tefillin on a gvil? Who's doing that? So they said, "Ela kitanyahi b'sefer Torah." You have to speak about what? Torah scroll. So now he said, why? Because Sefer Torah you can write regardless, klav, gvil, dochstustus, can write as long as it's a ten skin. So the truth is the Ramban and Ran said that lechatchila should write it on a gvil. That's the way that they used to write Sefer Torah. But the Avad is kosher even on klav and dochstustus. Two disagreed, two said that everything is kosher even lechatchila, and the Rambam and Hilchot Sefer Torah and the Shulchan Aruch too said halacha, you don't write the Sefer Torah on dochstustus. Lechatchila you should write on a gvil, but if you wrote on a klav, b'diavad it's kosher. But Rambam hold that if you wrote Sefer Torah on dochstustus, it's possible. Anyway. By the way, when you're writing Sefer Torah on the klav, so you're writing inside the skin inside, and the chstustus they're writing in the side of where was the hair after it was taken. Anyway, lema mesayale. So here we'll bring a proof. Kayotzebo tefillin shebalu, meaning tefillin that no longer in use. V'sefer Torah shebalat. The Sefer Torah is no longer used or it's ruined for some reason. Ein osim mehem mezuzah. So you remember the story of shul. We donate Sefer Torah to the shul in Hoboken, or you remember the shul in Long Island, New York. That shul, Long Beach, that they have like 6-7 feet of water. So here they said you cannot take what's left from that Sefer Torah and write mezuzah. Right? For the house, you cannot cut part and put it on a mezuzah. Why? לפי שאין מורידים מקדושת חמורה לקדושה קלה. That's crucial for us to understand, because this is something that you see a lot of time, that we have a level of sanctity. What is the highest? Sefer Torah. So you cannot denigrate that. So even the Sefer Torah is no longer in use. It's not a second grade children play that you don't use something, the teacher wants to save money, cut and paste. Sefer Torah, you cannot denigrate that level. Since they have the highest Kedusha ones, you cannot cut and make it mezuzah. Okay? Tama, the reason for the en moridim, that you not denigrate from a highest Kedusha to a lowest level of sanctity. Ha moridim. But if it was a situation that we can do it, or sin, so we may think that we can make a mezuzah for that. So they asked, Dichtiva al ma'amai, on what they wrote those tefillin, lav dichtiva adochstustus. Isn't that writing on dochstustus, which means if you tell me that it's written on the klav, so regardless you cannot make it a mezuzah. Why? Because mezuzah on a klav is possible, as we said earlier. So you have to say that it's written on what? On dochstustus that was kosher. So it said lo dichtiva ala klav, which means that tefillin that is written on that klav, on that, so you cannot take the Shema Yisrael and Vayam Shamoa in order to write mezuzah, to have mezuzah on the entrance of your house. So you see, is no proof to what Rav that said that you can write it even on dochstustus. So they ask, umezuzah klav mikatvinan v'atanya. You don't write mezuzah on the klav, v'atanya ktava על הקלף, על הנייר ועל המקליט פסולה. Omar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Meir היה כותבה על הקלף מדי שמשתמר. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar used it because it's observed for longer. So the Gemara concludes, just let's finish the sugya. השדעתית לאחה, לרב נמר לא תימה, דוכסטוס על הקלף, אלא אימה, קלף הרודו דוכסטוסוס, מה דוכסטוס כותבים על המזוזה, קלף כותבים על המזוזה, the same way, דוכסטוס על המזוזה, so one may add mezuzah according to the opinion of Rav Meir. So basically that's the end of that sugya. Now go to the practical halachot. Rambam, Hilchot Shabbat chapter 11. המעבד בכמה. One who tends the hide, how much? The measure that determines liability for one who tends hides is equivalent to what is used to make amulet. That's the opinion of Rav Nachman. שלושה אורוten, there are 3 hides. So the measure for carrying out a hide, it's not being 10, it's equivalent to what is used to wrap a small shekel weight. Or meubad. So they said that the measure that determines liability for carrying out hide has undergone the complete tanning process by 5x5 handbreadth. That's the Rambam. Klaf v'dochstuchstus. The measurement that determines liability for carrying dochstuchstus on Shabbat is equivalent to write a mezuzah. One parchment, use the passage of Shema Yisrael. Tefillin ala klaf, the passage of the tefillin may only be written on parchment and not on gvil or dochstuchstus. Even when written on a parchment, the text for tefillin may only be written on a part that hide the faces in animal flesh. And nowadays, even though parchment is not prepared exactly the way it was prepared in the Talmudic era, it maintains that the legal status of the Talmudic era parchment. Now, Besefer Torah. In regard to Torah scroll, the Torah scroll is written on a gvil, on the side that face the hair, or on parchment on the side that face the flesh. Modern time, most communities no longer write on gvil. Some authority rule that Sefer Torah scroll on parchment on the side that faces the hair is valid only b'diavad, only after the fact. Tefillin shebalu v'Sefer Torah shebala. That's important halacha. It's a Rambam, Hilchot Tefillin Mezuzot v'Sefer Torah chapter 5 and Shulchan Aruch Yoredea 290. The appropriate passages from the tefillin or a Torah scroll that became tethered may not be used in a mezuzah, since that would constitute a denigration of the sanctity of those passages. Ktivat mezuzah, writing a mezuzah, the GEMARA conclusion is accepted as practical halacha. Parchment has a legal status of dochstuchstus, and it's permitted to write a mezuzah on a parchment or even in a gvil, but we said many times that's not lechatchila.
Hashem